Remember just a couple of years ago, the metaverse was everywhere. It was the talk of the town, right? The inevitable next chapter of the internet. A huge, immersive 3D world where we were all going to work and play and live. It was, without a doubt, the future. But that future seems kind of quiet now, doesn't it? So what on earth happened to the metaverse? Let's trace this story from the grand vision all the way to the ghost town. The funny thing is, this whole idea didn't start in some tech lab or a fancy corporate boardroom. Nope. It started right here, in the pages of a 1992 sci-fi novel called Snow Crash. The author, Neil Stephenson, he imagined this virtual reality-based successor to the internet, and he coined the term that 30 years later would spark this multi-billion-dollar frenzy.
Okay, so let's break it down. What are we actually talking about here? At its heart, the metaverse is supposed to be this persistent 3D virtual world. You've got your avatar, I've got my avatar, and we can connect with each other. And it's not just a game. The idea was for it to be this whole new plane for society, for commerce. Really, the simplest way to think about it is this. Imagine taking the flat 2D internet we scroll through every day and turning it into a world you can actually step inside. And man, for a while that dream was absolutely electric. We are talking about a full-blown gold rush, where the biggest companies in the world just started pouring billions into building this new digital frontier. They promised it would change literally everything. So let's take a look at what that grand vision actually looked like. And while all this hype feels super recent, the idea has actually been kicking around for decades. After its sci-fi birth back in '92, we saw these early attempts like Second Life in 2003. A lot of people call that the first real metaverse. But the hype train? Oh, it truly left the station in 2021. That's when Facebook didn't just launch a VR world. It rebranded its entire company to Meta. That was a massive, massive bet that this virtual future was finally here. And the vision they were selling us, it was huge. This wasn't just about playing games. No, the metaverse was supposed to revolutionize how we do everything. We were going to have board meetings with our avatars, buy virtual land, create these fully interactive classrooms, and even develop new kinds of healthcare. It was pitched as a total paradigm shift for, well, everything. Which, of course, leads us to the big, obvious question. With all that promise, with all that investment, why does the metaverse today feel so empty? Where is everybody? And this brings us to the second act of our story, the reality check. Because that grand dream of the metaverse, it crashed head-on into some very real and very big problems. And it really all starts with the staggering cost of trying to build it. Let's just start with the money. Take a look at this number, $10 billion. And that was just the operating loss for Meta's Metaverse division in 2021 alone. And to make it crazier, Mark Zuckerberg himself said he expected those losses to increase meaningfully. Turns out, building a whole new universe is, incredibly expensive. Then you've got the hardware problem. The dream was for these sleek, lightweight glasses that felt totally natural to wear. But the reality? Well, it was these bulky, graphically limited headsets that cost anywhere from a few hundred to several $1,000s. That's just a huge barrier for most people. It's not exactly an iPhone moment. And okay, beyond the tech and the money, a much darker set of problems started to pop up. The very same issues that plague social media today, privacy violations, user safety, addiction, they were all amplified in these new virtual worlds. Suddenly, reports of virtual harassment and abuse became common, and trying to moderate a live 3D space, it proved to be an almost impossible challenge. And the privacy thing, it was massive. Experts started warning that the amount of data that could be collected was on a completely different scale. We're not just talking about what you click, but where you look, your biometric responses. This quote from David Reed at Liverpool Hope University really puts it into perspective. There's just no comparison. All right, so after all that soaring hype, the whole thing came crashing back down to earth. With billions and billions spent and all these fundamental problems still unsolved, the industry had to face the music. Let's move on to the verdict and see how it all played out. Maybe the most damning piece of evidence against the metaverse was just the lack of people. This chart shows the daily active users for Decentraland, which was a huge platform valued in the billions. At one point, reports showed it had as few as 8,000 daily users. I mean, come on, that's not a new internet, that's a small town.
And then came the pivot, the moment that really signaled the end of the hype. In early 2023, the Metaverse's biggest champion, Mark Zuckerberg himself, announced that Meta's new big focus would be AI. The message was crystal clear. The industry's attention and all that money had moved on to the next big thing.
The media, of course, wasted no time writing the obituary. This quote from Business Insider pretty much captured the entire sentiment perfectly. The metaverse was a fad that died before it ever really got a chance to live.
So where does that leave us? It's a fascinating question, really. Was the metaverse just a big burst of corporate hype, a solution desperately searching for a problem? Or is that core idea of a truly immersive internet still the future, just waiting for the right tech to finally catch up? Was this the end of the story, or was it just the end of chapter 1?